Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I got a review for you guys of the Hogue Deka. Now this is the lightweight version. It's not actually called the lightweight, that's just kind of what I'm calling it. Because usually the Hogue Deka is using G10 scales with a nice 20 CV blade. But this version currently that I'm holding is using polymer handles and beautiful CPM MagnaCut steel. Now, just a little disclaimer for you guys, this does come in many different configurations, you know, black handles, blue handles, this kind of tan coyote color, painted blade, non-painted blade, drop point, and of course, as you guys can see here, a Wharncliffe. So that's really nice, and as I mentioned before, there's also a version using G10 scales and 20 CV blade steel. Now we're going to be reviewing this version, and obviously if I decide to pick up another Hogue Deka that will likely be in G10 and 20 CV, then I'll review that one on a separate occasion. But anyways, let me give you guys a little bit of a size comparison here before we get started with the review. So first, here's the PM3, which as you guys can see, these two are very comparable in size, with actually the Hogue Deka coming in slightly bigger. You guys might not be able to see that because you're at kind of a weird angle, but here's the PM2, which as you guys can see absolutely dwarfs this knife, which I think is pretty funny because it seems like nowadays all my knives are getting dwarfed by the PM2. And then the knife that I reviewed, here's the knife that I reviewed last week. This would be the old Benchmade 940 Osborne. And as you guys can see, these two are sharing kind of a similarity in that being their lock. This is the Able lock, by the way, and this is the Axis lock. The Able lock is kind of Hogue's answer for the Axis lock, but there's that. And finally, here is my beloved AD 20.5 and 3V steel. As you guys can see, wearing a brand new pair of G10 scales. Absolutely beautiful. I'll definitely be doing a review on these scales very soon. But that's not important. Anyways, with all that out of the way, all like the beginning stuff, the prologue, here is what I like and don't like about this knife, and if I can recommend it for you. Now, right off the bat, the blade is absolutely well done. This is a very interesting blade for me. I think the grinds are done really well. The tip is done extremely well, super duper sharp. And the thinness of the overall blade is really well done. But here's the weird part about this. As you guys can see, it has kind of like a weird secondary grind on it. And that's actually this part of the blade being slightly thicker than this part of the blade. Now again, like I mentioned, this very thin spine, so there's no real thick part of this blade, but there is a thicker part of this blade, that being right here. I guess if you want to use it for whittling or something like that, or some harder to use tasks, but it's not substantially thicker that it's going to make much of a difference to the cutting ability. But I just thought that was very interesting, this kind of complex or compound grind. This is a first for me, and I figured I'd just make note of it. And here's the thing, it's actually kind of a thing that I like because it gives this Wharncliffe a belly kind of look, and not even kind of look, it just gives it a little bit of a belly. And that's kind of cool because most Wharncliffes don't have a belly, they're straight edged, which in most regard is perfectly fine. But here, having that secondary kind of edge there, you're getting a little bit of a belly with a Wharncliffe. You're still getting that straight, because obviously if you hold this knife down a little bit, you're still going to get that straight edge from here to here. But it's from here to here, or excuse me, here to here. Sorry, depth perception's a little weird behind the camera. But from here to here, you're getting a little bit of belly with it. So even though probably the one downfall of Wharncliffes is you don't get much of a belly, this is kind of fixing that problem, at least that, you know, some people have. Obviously not everybody has it, but I think that's really cool and really unique, and obviously something we're not really seeing in knives nowadays. That being said, this blade has a lot of cool grinds on it. You guys can see it's got this kind of faux edge here in the back. It's got this grind here, this grind here. It's on both sides, by the way. Both sides have that complex or compound grind, and both have that little swedge back there. I think just the overall grind on the blade looks really cool and gives it a really nice looking aesthetic. Another thing I really like about the blade is, of course, the CPM MagnaCut. Now, I've only ever dealt with MagnaCut one other time, on a super high-end knife that cost me about $200. And unfortunately, the design was not my favorite, and I just couldn't really pick it up the day that I was in the knife shop. I kind of made that sound like I bought it. I didn't buy it. I went to my knife shop, and they had I think it was a small Sabenza in the MagnaCut steel. It was really weird. I wanted to love it. I'm much more of a large Sabenza kind of guy, but yeah, that's my only other experience with MagnaCut, and I didn't really get to do much with it because obviously I was in the store. This MagnaCut is kind of my first real MagnaCut that I've been able to use and fully test, and it's great. I think the edge retention is really, really well done, and again, it does have really, really solid wear resistance. You know, I haven't seen anything, you know, go wrong with the edge or anything like that. Now, obviously, this is a coated blade, which was actually because I got MagnaCut, and I want to say it comes on the PM3. Now I'm like totally drawing a blank. MagnaCut and Maximate, that's the one. I got MagnaCut and Maximate flip-flopped. So when I first was looking at this knife and buying it, I thought that MagnaCut was prone to rusting, so I got it coated. I later found out that MagnaCut is very, very wear resistant, and I was a little stupid for that, but it's not a big deal. I mean, it looks cool, although as you guys know, I'm not really a huge fan of painted blades, but oh well, I guess we're gonna stick with the tactical black. Now, another thing, I do like the thumb studs. They're plenty substantial for the size of this blade. As you guys can see, there's plenty of jimping on there. It's not super aggressive, at least not for me. I think it's kind of nice, actually. It makes things nice and grippy. So I do like that a lot. And with how light this blade is, because again, it's super thin and the action is super smooth, it doesn't wear into my thumb too bad. So I do quite like the thumb studs on this. And I do like the jimping on the back of the blade here. It's very, very nice in the hand. It's not super aggressive. It's just really, really a nice, really a nice set of jimping. I like it a lot. Moving down a little bit, talking about the Able lock. Now, I do really, really like the Able lock, especially on this knife. I mean, it's so incredibly smooth, as you guys can see. It literally almost falls shut. And, sorry, I'm trying not to hit the tripod here. Oh my goodness, I keep like getting so close. I'm so worried. There we go. It does snap out if you give it enough wrist to it. It'll snap out really well. That was kind of cool. But it'll snap out really, really nice. And obviously it snaps right back in just as smooth. So that's really, really nice. And overall the action is really, really nice. Hogue, more than any other company, has their actions down pat, both on their button locks and of course on their new Able locks. They're really, really good with keeping things nice and smooth. And that's another thing. I really do like that this knife is made by Hogue. I do not have enough Hogues in my collection, but I'll tell you now, I really need to start collecting more. I've seen so many great things about the company. They're American made. They're not going to break the bank. They're just really, really great American made for the people kind of knives, where they're not going to obviously screw you over and make things too overpriced. Sorry about that. But they're not going to make things too overpriced. That was a 940 Osborne, by the way. Not trying to call anybody out, but bitch made. Anyways, this USA-made knife is super duper cheap, which is another really great thing. You know, Hogue is really able to make great American quality knives at a good cost. I got this knife for $112 on sale on the Blade HQ website. And here's the thing. This was like $113 on sale. This was like $115. This is the PM3. You're getting CTS BD1, MagnaCut. You're getting the same style handle material. The only difference between these two are going to come in the steel and, of course, in the locks. Now, of course, I love the compression lock, and I think I do like the compression lock slightly more. But the fact that you're getting a knife that is going to have just as much metal in it and a more premium steel. It's kind of crazy to think of how great the price is on this. I can't. The big thing about this knife is how amazing the price is, and that's what I really want to hone in. Is the price is just fantastic. I love it to death. Another thing, this knife is extremely lightweight. For me, I like that a lot. Obviously, I like to keep weight down in my pocket. I don't want to carry something like a PM2 or AD 20.5 every single day of my life. Sometimes I like to carry very minimalist. I mean, for instance, today I carried the Spartan Talos, which as you guys can see is a kind of tiny knife. But I got to carry this to work today, and I actually didn't mind it. I saw a lot of people on YouTube complaining about this guy. And let me just be the first to say, don't trust everything you hear on YouTube. Talos is a great knife. Everybody hates it, but I don't. But back to this knife. Super lightweight, which is super duper great. I always appreciate nice light knives that I can throw in my pocket and almost forget it's there. And this knife is exactly that. So really, really great piece. Another thing, of course, that deep carry pocket clip. I love it to death. There's no recessed screws, but that is not a huge deal. Obviously, I'm not going to cry about it. But I love that it's a deep carry pocket clip. I wish more companies use deep carry pocket clips because I'm kind of getting tired of non-deep carry pocket clips. I know a lot of people like having a little extra knife handle sticking out of the pocket so they can pinch it out. But honestly, I just put my thumb in my pocket and put my other finger on the clip and it'll just pull out. But the deep carry pocket clip makes it more minimalist. Like, you know, obviously it's not going to have too much sticking out. And it's going to be a little less suspicious. I feel like less people are going to be like, oh, look at that guy with the knife sticking out of his pocket. No, they won't really be able to tell because it's just a clip. It could be a pen or something. I don't know. But I absolutely love the pocket clip and that it's reversible. So this is a perfectly 100% ambidextrous knife. Ambidextrous? Ambidextrous. I don't know. It's a word, right? Everybody says it different. But it's completely ambidextrous, with some people who are left-handed being able to use that just fine because both of the thumb studs are equal on both sides. The able lock sticks out on both sides, and of course, the pocket clip is reversible. Now, I didn't talk too much about the able lock before, but I want to really just give this thing its spotlight. This is an incredible lock. Very, very much so comparable to the Axis lock. Now, the Axis lock is great. It'll always be great. And obviously, Benchmade kind of made this popular and made this what it is today. But their versions of this type of lock has never been super duper smooth. Not to mention the Omega springs in there have been known to break. There's a lot of people who talk about breaking, you know, those Omega springs. And granted, I've heard that Benchmade's been working on it, that they've, you know, gone a little higher quality with their springs, but I don't know for sure. With the Hogue Deka, though, I do know for sure because nobody that I know of have broken their Omega springs in this, in the G10 version or in this version. And that's because Hogue is actually using a very much high-end version of the Omega spring. I actually just watched an entire video on it, that they are using a company that makes super high-quality Omega springs that are meant to last a lifetime. So I think that's just absolutely incredible that they're trying to improve upon what the Axis lock is. Not to mention, did I mention yet that this is cheaper? You know, did I mention that this is a cheap knife? You know, $113, and you're getting that lock. I mean, what Benchmade do you know of that comes with a Axis lock is $113? Probably nothing because it doesn't exist because it's Benchmade. But you're getting a nice able Axis style lock for a really great price, and it works well. And the Omega spring is really well done. So for the first time reviewing an Axis style lock, I am not going to complain about the Omega springs. In fact, quite the contrary, in saying that Hogue is actually going that next step to make sure that their Omega springs last forever. Now, with all that out of the way, I'm going to quickly go over what I don't like about this knife, and believe it or not, there's really not much. First and foremost, of course, the polymer handles. Obviously, nobody likes the polymer handles. This knife is notorious for having a little bit of squish to it. You know, a lot of people talk about the squish of the polymer here. Not to mention all the edges on the inside here are pretty sharp. That's a pretty big thing, and a lot of people have been complaining about it, and obviously I'm going to be one of them. But to keep costs down, of course, you're going to have to use polymer. You can't use G10 and a $113 knife using MagnaCut. That's just kind of the way of the world, unfortunately. But with that, I don't hate this polymer. It's not the worst thing ever. I actually kind of like it. It's smoother than most. It's a little more comfortable in the hand than most, but it's still got those sharp edges, and it's still polymer. Obviously, I'd prefer G10 or micarta, but it is kind of what it is. Another thing is this doesn't have full liners, and that gives it the squish. So obviously, that's kind of to cut down the weight, which I can respect, but full liners are just going to give knives like this a little more rigidity, especially because this one really needs it. It's fully hollowed out on the inside, as you guys can see. I don't know if you guys can see, actually. Yeah, there you go. You guys can see right there that it's fully hollowed out on the inside. So really, I mean, this knife definitely could have used some kind of liner through there, at least like a skinny one maybe, just something to give it a little extra something. But that is unfortunate. Another thing I am not a huge fan of is, of course, going to be the coated blade. If you guys are planning on getting this knife, just get the non-coated blade. Like, this is just not it. I don't like coated blades. I think they look a little too tactical and a little less practical. So I definitely recommend not going with the coated blade, although I guess it looks all right. So if you really like the coated blade, go with it. But this is MagnaCut. It's stainless. You know, if you're really worried about it staining, I guess, if you're from Florida or something, then yeah, go ahead and get that blade. But obviously you shouldn't really be that worried about it staining, so don't get the painted blade. That's just my opinion on the matter, though. Obviously everyone thinks a little differently, but that's my opinion. Now, finally, just to kind of wrap up the review, there's nothing else I don't like, so we'll end that there. But there is something that I really love, and I think I wanted to say that till the end of the review just so I could really bring light to it. I don't know if you guys can see that edge, but it is reflective as I'll get out. I can almost see my reflection in the edge. This is not my custom edge. I did not touch up this edge. I did not do anything to this edge. This edge is factory. And here's the thing. This is one of the, if not the sharpest edge I currently have in my collection. This is the scariest edge I currently own, and it is from the factory. And here's the thing. Hogue goes out of their way to actually hand sharpen these knives to the best of their ability. And that is incredible. Every single knife they do that with. And here's the thing. The thing that I love about this knife most is what I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, but that this was made by Hogue. That is the number one thing. And that's actually what's going to lead into if I can recommend this for you or not. Absolutely I can. In fact, I'm not just going to recommend this knife, but I just recommend buying a Hogue. Go out and buy a Hogue, you know, feel the Hogue quality. You know, these are knives that are put together by hand. These are knives that are hand sharpened. These are knives that, you know, they actually make in their factory. Like it's crazy. And it's not made overseas. None of this is made overseas. It's all US made. And again, $113. So if you really want a Hogue, I recommend starting with the Deka and moving your way you know, up the line as you go. I mean, maybe even going with this version of the Deka, then going with the G10 version. That's what I'm kind of planning on doing because I really want to try out that drop point Deka, but just really going step by step, getting new Hogues and stuff like that, like I'm trying to do. You know, I'm really trying to get a feel for Hogue quality, and this knife already shows me how good their fit and finish is, how good their edges are, how good their locks are, just how good Hogue is, even with cheaper materials, you know. So I definitely recommend this knife. I recommend just Hogue in general. You know, whatever knife really shines for you guys. They do also make automatics or button kind of automatics out the sides. So if you're really into those, you can always go with those. They're kind of known for that too. but obviously I'm more of a manual guy. I actually don't have any automatics, so I'm definitely more of a manual guy, and they have a lot of great manuals as well. In fact, I'm planning on ordering the HK Hogue Knives collaboration, the Exemplar, I think it's called, or something like that. I plan on getting that knife soon as well. So honestly, just keep your eyes out for a Hogue. If you guys are really in the mood for great materials and great fit and finish, it's going to be there for you. So with that out of the way, you know, I can 100% recommend this knife. And yeah, so with that out of the way, I'm going to say my usual: like and comment, you know, subscribe. And I guess with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and overall, thank you.